3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you. Mama says you're brain dead. Bang your head against the wall. Can't find peace of mind. Brain needs an overhaul. Bonehead, brain dead. We're all the same. You can't think straight when your heart is in pain. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay your burden down.
The views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice. Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here's your host,
the man, the myth, the legend,
the Monty Man.
I'm telling you the truth, man, I ain't gonna lie to you.
I wouldn't lie to you, Tony.
I know.
Good guys, bad boys,
We're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down. Welcome once again to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. We have a full house today.
Very full house.
Dave Fleming is here. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Monty Man.
Hey, buddy. Dave Fleming is certified alcohol and drug counselor and a bunch of other stuff too. Out at the Adult Teen Challenge Center in Shed, Oregon. Denver is here.
Morning.
Good morning, Denver. Denver is a, what's a fancy title for what you do?
Complicated.
Denver's complicated. Yes, definitely. Denver is a state-certified addiction peer support specialist.
That's PSS.
PSS for you guys.
Oh, Lord.
PSS. Tony, the Queen of the Golden Arches, is here.
Good morning.
Tony is a 12-stepper, and she is the laughter in our otherwise dreary show.
Thank God.
Right? And Cowboy Marv is here. Marv is also a 12-stepper, and behind that mustache, he is just cracking up.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Marv.
How's it going?
It's going well. And today on the show, we have a very special guest, my friend Billy Anderson. Hey, Billy.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
You betcha. Billy is the director of clinical outreach for Sunspire Health at Astoria Point. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to mostly be talking about Billy's story. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. Right, Billy?
Yes.
Nice.
Billy wasn't always doing as well as he's doing today. Were you?
No, you wouldn't say.
But before we do all that, we like to have a little bit of fun. Okay, so I've always wondered about this. In an act of...
What did you
Wondering's over now, isn't it?
It is. In an act of common courtesy, to light a match after using the bathroom. Oh, Lordy. You ever do that? You ever light a match after using the restroom?
Absolutely.
That potpourri now. Poopery.
Poopery?
Yeah.
After dropping a dirty bomb on Mount...
Let me guess, the Shave Club, right?
Yep.
Here, let me get the other one.
I didn't hear this one yet, though. I haven't got my March one.
On Mount Porcelain. There we go.
There we go.
The poop pillow. We have a poop pillow emoji sitting next to me here. But how does that actually combat the stinky memories left behind by our behinds?
Multiple choice.
Well, during
Is this trivia?
no, this is just this is just for fun and for free.
This is just bilateral periphery.
It is bilateral periphery. During an episode of Mythbusters, the host pumped hydrogen sulfate and meth. See where we go?
Roll on.
Methyl mercaptan, smell-causing compounds that are found in both farts and feces, the FFs, into a sealed chamber.
Why?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Ugh.
They then measured the concentrations of these gases before and after lighting a match and found that the accumulation of gases remained unaffected. This proves that lighting a match doesn't either consume or eliminate these odors at all. So why do you think it doesn't smell like Mount Poop?
I don't know.
Huh? Take a guess.
That's a great question. I feel like it really helps.
Masks it. It's
ma-
kind of like
I don't know.
getting sober. If we don't treat the underlying causes,
You're right. It's just masking it.
it's bound to come
Right,
back
exactly.
and
We like to have
disturb
fun here.
your life.
Yeah. So what
Is it because of the smell of the match?
So what
I
step
can't
you on?
believe we're even talking
I know.
about this.
I know.
Right?
James would be like, that's another show.
What step you working? I don't do that. I go to meetings. Well, what step you working? I don't do that. I drink bad coffee. Don't get me started, right? Well, instead, lighting a match produces sulfur dioxide, a smell-causing compound that's even more pungent and therefore masks the smell, but it does not remove it. To prove it, go back in there
How long?
a minute and 30 seconds after you've lit the match.
There's a time.
Okay, so there's that. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Stop right there. It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Wine.
The baby.
The baby.
I miss the baby.
The baby. Okay, we're not going to do a weekly win this week because I just don't want to.
Marcia's going to kill you later.
I know, that's all right. Okay, so here's my wine. So I call up. My wife's always saying, call them before you go there to find out if they do have that or if they have that service is available or whatever. You know, so when you're going to go purchase something or so, you all know that I've already whined about the fact that the non-dairy coffee creamer liquid form, sugar-free, there isn't any big bottles of it. There's just the little bottles, and they're really hard to find. Right, so I call it cash and carry, and I'm throwing them under the bus, just like I promised I always. You know, most media guys say, "Well, I'm not going to mention any names." Not me, man. Because what do we do when we don't like them, Tony?
We burn them down.
We burn them down. So cash and carry in Salem. So I call them up. I says, "Do you have Nestle's?" By the way, Nestle's owns Coffee Mate. I said, "Do you have Nestle's Coffee Mate liquid creamer in sugar-free?" And I said, and please hear me, sugar-free. He said, absolutely we do. But let me check just to make sure. A good 3 to 4 minutes later,
God.
he comes on the phone, are you still there? And I really wanted to just not say anything, you know, but I didn't have the heart. You know, I want to hear him say, sir, you know, just because I like to, you know, misbehave. But I said, yeah, I'm here. And he goes, we definitely have that. And we have it in all three sizes, the little cups, the 24-ounce, and then the 32-ounce. I said, that's great. I'll be right there. He goes, we have 2 cases left. Super.
You drove to Salem?
I drove.
Kramer?
You can't buy it anywhere else.
Walmart in Albany.
They don't have it.
I just bought some.
In the big fat ones?
Yes, 32 ounce.
But they can't keep it in stock because every time I go, they're out because you buy it.
Dave bought it all.
So
I made sure I called ahead to see if you were coming
So I went up there.
because I like to misbehave too.
Guess what they don't carry?
What you asked for.
That's right. So I'm walking up, me and my bone spur and my bad back and everything else. I mean, don't they know the effort I put in? And I'm going up and down the aisle. So finally I get a hold of the one guy that works there evidently. And I said, I called ahead, and it's his voice. I recognize his voice. He goes, that must have been Fred that said that. And I go, no, I think it was you. I'm pretty sure. He goes, well, we don't carry that.
Oh, my God.
Now, this isn't the first time this has happened to me. I've driven long distances before.
For Kramer?
I've drove up to Kaiser to get sound equipment. And we don't have that.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
So there's my wine. Ever happened to you, Marv?
Oh, no.
No. You ever go, do you have them Spurs? And in chrome. Yes, sir, we do.
I like the one where somebody tells you, oh, you know what? That's on sale down here at such and such.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something you really wanted, so you haul butt down there to get it.
Yep.
Oh, we just run out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's face it, dealers will disappoint you.
Dealers.
Every time, too. Every time.
You know, I had a dealer that was really he never disappointed me, you know, and he probably should have.
Was that the same guy from the alcohol store you used to live by?
The booze shop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. 8th Street Avenue Liquors in Hayward, California. All right, well, coming up, we got some interesting stuff coming up. So this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, Tony's going to be here. Are you going to come?
I'll be here.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking
Okay, remember
about.
we talked about last week, Roger McDermott, our Southern California rep for the radio station, is going to be here.
That's this Wednesday?
That's this Wednesday.
What time?
At 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
Is he
Denver,
physically
you
going to be
better
here,
still
or is
be
he
here.
calling
AM or
in here?
PM?
AM.
You're supposed to be here anyways.
Yeah.
I know he's flying in or flying. He's driving in right now. He's coming from Redding, California, right at the moment, and he'll be here later this afternoon.
Oh, I've been to Redding.
So Roger's going to be, and the topic of the show is Asleep in the Light, Emotional Sobriety, and the Church. Can't wait for the emails on that one. And then Brandon Manning will be here next Monday with his powerful story, a really an amazing story of miraculous work of God in his life. Kick the devil to the curb. Brandon Manning will be here next Monday. And then on March 7th at the Victory Report, the show where we feature members of Teen Challenge of Arizona, Marla M., the intake coordinator for the Allison Girls Center of Arizona, will be here. And then Wednesday, on the 28th of March, have you guys ever heard of My Pillow?
Yeah.
Pillow, yeah.
I know Mike.
Mike Lindell.
Oh, I thought you said
know
My Pillow.
No, My Pillow, yeah. Have you ever heard of My Pillow? Not this one. Have you ever heard of My Pillow? The product, My Pillow.
No.
You haven't?
No.
Girl, you need to watch more infomercials. Well, my Pillow is an amazing. I own 3, by the way.
2 here.
Do you own 2?
I do.
Did it change your sleeping?
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Maybe you need to get James some of those because he snores.
Well, that won't change your snoring, but I will tell you what. I have never slept better than with My Pillow. It's called My Pillow. So then you can say this is My Pillow.
It's actually called My Pillow.
Yes. Mike
Yes,
Lindell is the founder and inventor of My Pillow, and he's going to be on the show, sharing his story of
What day
recovery.
is that?
That'll be Wednesday, March 28th.
Okay, I'm taking that day off. I
Mike
want to see
Lindell.
this My Pillow person.
Well, he won't be in studio. He'll be on the phone.
Okay, never mind.
Anyway, so we got a bunch of great stuff coming up, and we'll just keep you informed and all that stuff. For all that information, go to take12radio.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back with some trivia, and then we're going to hear Billy Anderson's story. What? All right, so don't go away. Check this out.
Don't go away. Take 12 Recovery Radio. We'll be right back.
Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and...
Hey, check this out. Albany and Lebanon Celebrate Recovery in cooperation with Take 12 Recovery Radio presents Nashville recovery recording artist Heather Lane in 2 exclusive concerts. Tuesday, March 13th at Hope Church Family Center, Albany, Oregon, and Wednesday, March 14th at Southside Church of Christ in Lebanon. Heather's life hit bottom over a decade ago. She felt lost, confused, and wondered why she was even breathing. Her lowest point became her turning point. Now, spreading the good news of recovery through the power of God is the passion of her award-winning songs.
Keep it flowing, keep me coming to you. What you give has got me living, think I'm hooked on you. When does all the changing come? Sweep me away. Gonna make it today.
Don't miss these 2 opportunities to experience some of the best in recovery music and testimony. So mark your calendars for March 13th and 14th. Admission is free, and all are welcome. Both events kick off with a free dinner beginning at 6 p.m., followed by an evening with Heather Lane.
Take me to the place where the river washes my world away.
Nothing changes if nothing changes.
This is Tony Morosi from the recovery band Self-Esteem, and we're listening to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show with the Monty Man on KHLT Broadcasting.
Uh-oh.
And now, it's the Quiz of the Week.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Take 12 Trivia. Sponsored by that award-winning 12-step magazine, the 12-Step Gazette. Visit their website at 12stepgazette.com. Now, here's the Monty Man.
Alrighty. We're going to have to play a little trivia here, Billy. We'll give you the first crack at the first question. It's totally useless trivia. It doesn't mean anything, and nobody really
You're
cares.
about to be broken in.
And if you get them all right, you don't get nothing except for maybe a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, and that's probably it.
Sounds good.
If you get it wrong, you get the fluff machine. If you get it right, that's about the extent of your prize.
Oh, you got a new bell.
No, it's the old bell.
Oh.
We just have a new...
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah. You might get this, too, if you get it wrong. We'll see. Question number 1. Oh,
Can
by the
you
way...
start over?
Huh?
Welcome to Take 12 Recovery Radio. Question number 1. The average person falls asleep in, and there's your choices, Billy. A, 7 minutes. B, 15 minutes. C, 25 minutes.
B.
B, 15 minutes. Mark, what do you think? 7, 15, or 25?
B.
15? Tony?
Mine's like 3 hours because James snores like horribly.
Okay.
So I say D, though.
Kick
the
him to-
longest one.
Kick him to the curb.
Yeah. I'm not going to burn him.
D, the longest. That's not even a choice. What do you think, Denver?
Billy is wise for his age. I'll go with B.
B? All right. Dave? 7, 15, 25.
I'll go with the crowd. B.
B, well, you all would be incorrect.
G, Billy.
Yeah. Sorry, Billy.
Wait, didn't I say the last one?
You said D, and there's no D.
Oh.
So Billy just lost his trip to the Bahamas. A, it's 7 minutes. The average person falls asleep in 7 minutes.
That's wrong.
Yeah, well, we're not average.
I thought there was
Wrong.
a 75 option.
I'm down in NyQuil and Z-Quil and
Oh, my goodness.
Benadryl and every drill you can.
Benadryl works good.
Huh? They have NyQuil in non-alcoholic form. You know why I know that?
Because you take it.
Because I'm an alcoholic. I'm looking for the one with the alcohol, and I'm finding the one with no alcohol.
I did that once.
That's
in
another
my
weekly
days,
wine
never
right
again.
there.
Mm-mm.
I thought maybe you found it when you were up in Salem looking for the creamer.
The silent cowboy, you gotta love him.
And you know, NyQuil has a lot of nerve going from 25% booze to 10%. Give me a break. I used to enjoy my after hours happy hour.
No.
The NyQuil bottle, shot
Never.
glass included. After 2 a.m., you can still buy it.
You just drink 2 of them.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
You just guzzle
I
it.
drank one once, and
Take 12 Radio does not suggest that you drink NyQuil. Okay, the electric chair was invented by who?
Switching gears.
Tony? Was it invented by a dentist, a prison inmate, or a medical
I
examiner?
think I know this. A dentist.
Dentist? What do you think, Billy?
I'm going to go with the dentist, too. That sounds right.
Okay. Prison inmate or medical examiner or dentist there, Marv?
Medical examiner.
Medical examiner? What do you think?
I'm going with Marv. We've been through
Medical
this.
examiner?
Yeah, we've been through this before.
Oh,
What do you think,
that's
Dave?
Medical examiner.
All right. Well, who said dentist? You guys?
Yeah.
You guys are right.
High five.
Yeah.
What?
It was a dentist. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
dentists want to kill you.
Did you know that's the number two highest suicide rate in the medical profession is dentists?
Yes.
'Cause everybody hates them.
I wanted to be a dentist.
You did? You look a little like a
How
dentist.
can you look at people's mouths all day?
I had braces for 4 years when I was a kid, and I've always wanted to. give that back because I had a real bad smile before.
Oh,
And,
so you just wanted to give it back?
I did a lot of drugs and drinking instead. So
instead of being a dentist.
Right on, Billy.
And that was Billy's story.
Yes.
That was Billy's story. Thanks for coming, Billy.
Yeah, that's all we need to know.
Number 3, 90% of all species that have become extinct have been what? Birds, rodents, or insects, Marv?
Birds.
Birds, Billy?
Can I have a lifeline? I'm gonna say insects.
Insects, Tony?
Oh.
Quick, Tony. Time's up.
Rodents.
Rodents. Okay, Dave?
Insects.
Insects.
Two-legged birds.
Birds is correct answer. That is the correct answer. Birds. Little
We're
birdies.
soon to follow, probably.
I was gonna say because insects have like gone through nuclear wars and
Insects make it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost done. Praise God. Each of us generates about 3.5 pounds of rubbish a day. 3.5 pounds. Most of it is what? Is it food, Tony? Is it paper or is it plastic?
What? Wait, is that like poop?
3.5 pounds of rubbish.
No.
What? Paper poop?
Here's a
Plastic
match.
poop?
I was wondering.
Ken dolls create plastic poop.
Sometimes you don't like to say poop, so you say other words. Paper.
Paper? Okay, Denver?
I'm sorry. I lost the 3 choices. I got lost there.
Food, paper, or plastic?
Plastic.
Dave?
Food.
Billy?
I'm gonna go with food too. That seems
You
like
gonna go
it'd
with
be the
food?
heaviest.
When are you going to go with there, Marv?
Well, I've been making a big deal about plastic.
Have you?
Yeah, stuff. So I'll
Well-
go with that.
Did anybody say paper? Did you say paper? You said paper, Jimmy.
I said
yeah,
paper.
You'd be right. Yeah, it is paper.
Because we do that at McDonald's every day.
Yep, paper. Plastic is number 2. Food's number 3. Yep. They are the 3 most waste products, though, of anything that we get rid of. All right, here's the last one. Hallelujah. What won't you find in the gambling casinos in Las Vegas? What won't you find? These are your choices. No smoking signs, barber chairs, or clocks.
Clocks.
Clocks? Tony? Clocks? What do you think, Deborah?
Clocks.
TikTok.
Okay, Marv?
Clock.
Thank you. Clocks? You guys really sure about that?
Oh yeah.
Why are you two so sure?
I've been to Vegas. They don't want you to keep track of
Nope.
time. They want you to keep.
You guys are
spending money.
correct. There are no clocks.
I like him.
There are no smoking signs in the no smoking areas, and there's a barber
You can
chair
smoke
in
and
just
drink
about
anywhere.
every single one of those places. Yeah.
So does that mean it's timeless?
They don't
Exactly.
have windows either.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
what
they don't
time
want
it
you
is.
distracted, man.
Not even on the strip. There's no clocks.
No clocks on the strip either?
Nope.
Wow.
No clocks and no windows.
Nope.
No clocks
exactly.
and no windows.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check out anytime you like, but you may never leave, right?
Exactly.
Right? All right. Well, that does it for Take 12 Trivia. Yeah. All right. A special thank you to all of the people that help sponsor this show. Our gold sponsors and our silver sponsors. And Patrick LeBeau. We just really want to thank him. He blessed us with a good amount of sponsorship here just the other day, which it came just in time. It always comes just in time because our Potomac account, the part that we do pay for, because they help sponsor us too, came due. And so we were able to pay that. And we want to thank Potomac. They are the largest host of podcasters in the world, and they have family that's in recovery, and so they've been gracious enough to give us unlimited bandwidth and unlimited storage. So, and then Roger McDermott, who will be here Wednesday, I want to thank him too, and then everybody that's been sponsoring. What, Dave?
I said fantastic.
Oh, you said fantastic? Say it again.
Fantastic.
Say it again. Mufasa.
And like Pastor Kelly said, God always works on. He's never late.
He's never late. No. All right. Well, our guest is 26 years old. 26 years old?
Correct.
All right. And he's the director of clinical outreach for Sunspire Health at Astoria Point. His passion is to help young addicts to get clean before their lives take a turn for the worst. And he also has a passion to strengthen the young people's community in AA and NA. He travels to the Northwest and surrounding areas to find the best treatment centers in the United States to work with. And may I just say, out of my own experience working with Sunspire and helping people get into treatment, I'm very impressed with them. His goal is to have a resource for everyone who calls his phone, regardless of insurance or financial holdbacks. So everybody join me in welcoming Billy. Yay, Billy.
Hello, Billy.
Thank you.
We're going to talk less about Sunspire Health, though, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But primarily, we want to hear Billy's story because it is a story of restoration. It is a story of hope, and definitely a story of a journey of recovery. Billy, so we kind of made fun of you earlier and said, you know, you look pretty good now, but you probably weren't always that way. What was going on, man?
I was an IV heroin user for most of my active addiction. I obviously did pretty much everything in the book. Really, when it started, I was drinking from my dad's liquor cabinet when I was 8. And that was just when they'd go out on the town, and I'd try to find a way to get out of myself. You know, I had some childhood trauma that I was trying to run away from, and just kind of progressed from there. And before I knew it, you know, I was 115 pounds and living in a tent off of 92nd and Powell in southeast Portland, and that's where I ended up. And got my way into treatment, and it changed my life forever. You know, I'd been through the state-funded program several times, been through Hooper Detox several times, just couldn't find a way out really until I had moved out of my comfort zone. My parents finally said, you know, we'll help you out with the insurance that they had, and I went through Astoria Point. I'm actually an alumni of there.
Yeah,
as well, I should put.
And that makes it really cool, right?
Yeah, it does. It's really cool. It's interesting to be able to give people an opportunity like I had, you know. But yeah, it was not a fun time, you know.
Did you? Okay, so I mean, did you start out? Okay, you were drinking from your parents' liquor cabinet. I get that. That's how I started too.
Oh yeah.
How long did it take you to go from drinking alcohol to putting a needle in your arm?
Well, 8 years. You know, by the time I was 16, I was in, and it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to. It was because I had been taking the OxyContins for a while, and I was dealing.
And why? Why were you doing that?
Because I found that I could make money off of them. You know, we grew up pretty poor, not terribly. We always, for the most part, had food, but when I was 13, both my parents lost their jobs. And so they told us, you know, we'll give you a little bit of money, but you have to figure out the rest to get your school clothes. And so I started working at a church, and I was licking envelopes and sending out their mail.
Yeah.
And they paid me $500 at the end of every summer. But I grew up in a neighborhood where there was drugs that were heavily prevalent. And I had a dealer right down the road who I saw, he always had money. And I wanted to know what he was doing, and so I eventually asked him to, you know, help me out. And I started out just selling, you know, marijuana, and I progressed fast because I figured out that if you sold the harder stuff, you could make more faster. And when I got into the OxyContin pills, I was selling them like candy, and I was like, man, these people are calling me all the time for these things. You know, how do they work? How does it feel? And before I knew it,
So you were selling before you ever used.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I found that I liked it a lot.
Right.
And it was easier than getting drunk because people couldn't smell it. I just had to stay awake. And you know, that was my story. And I remember I started to feel sick at one point when I hadn't used them for a couple days, and I called up a friend of mine, and he was like, you know, what's going on? And I said, I don't feel good, man. And he said, oh, you're sick. You're dope sick. And I said, well, really?
So that was total news to you.
Pretty much. I mean, I always knew something about it, you know, because
Yeah.
the people on the phone had talked about it, but I didn't know that it felt like that.
Horrible.
Yeah. And he said, you know, I got something that'll make you feel better. And I'll never forget that for the rest of my life, just that it'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of led me into using heroin. And I hid it pretty well at first for a long time. All of the school counselors and the school police officer were on to me. They knew what was going on, but I was, you know, quote unquote smart with what I did, and they didn't really get me with anything other than possession of marijuana charges for the longest time. By the time I was 18, I had been kicked out of my parents' house. They found guns in my room and all sorts of stuff. And
so from 16 to 18, you were messing around with firearms.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was afraid that people were going to rob me. I know you can't see me on the radio here, but I'm not a very big guy,
right?
you know. And so I wanted to stay behind a gun because I figured that I wouldn't get messed with. And so I moved into an apartment and was working with some pretty shady people at the time. And we lost that apartment, of course, shortly after. And the apartment got destroyed. And I moved back in with my folks because they were like, hey, if you're going to clean up, we'll help you. And within a week, I had stolen all of my grandmother's jewelry, who had passed away. Stolen pretty much every electronic device I could out of my folks' house, and they kicked me out. And I moved from friend's house to friend's house to friend's house, and I stole from family and friends and anybody that would support me for more than a day. I would take advantage of them, and I'm not proud to say that, but that's what happened. And by the end of it all, my mom and my dad were talking to me recently about it. Every single Thanksgiving or Christmas, I was in Hooper Detox or in some sort of treatment program.
Right.
And, towards the end of it, I'm 6 out of 7 in my lineup of brothers and sisters. And so my older brothers were like, telling my parents, just give up, let him die. That's what's going to happen. And, I called them for that last Christmas on December 25th of 2011, and I said, hey, I'm in Hooper again. And they said, great, what's new?
Mm.
And I said, well, I really want to do it this time. And I left that program, and I found a guy that said, hey, let's go get loaded. And I said, you know what, right on, let's go do that, because something changed in there. And I went out with him for about, 6 or 7 days. And I was going back to my tent, and I found that it was destroyed and somebody had cut it open. And I jumped on the bus and headed back towards the Fred Meyer's that was local there on Foster. And I knew that they kind of knew me because I'd been stealing stuff from that place for a while.
Oh, there's Billy.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so I kept going because there's another one down on Johnson Creek in 82nd. And my folks live one stop before that 82nd and Johnson Creek, Fred Meyer's. And for some reason, I just got off the bus. I really don't know why. And I went up to my parents' house, and I knocked on the door, and I said, hey, I think I'm ready. Because, of course, I didn't have a house key at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my dad sat there, and we called treatment center after treatment center after treatment center. And I think what really got me to grasp what was going on is over and over and over again, my father said, I'm not even willing to spend $1,000 on this kid. I don't think you guys understand, because all the treatment centers were like $8,000, $10,000, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it was. And,
sure.
And I knew that if I didn't get help that day, then it was over. And one of the last places that we called was Astoria Point. And they helped us out, and my dad had a decent union insurance plan, and so they let me in, and I stayed there for 91 days in a residential facility. And I'll never forget when they dropped me off. It was if you don't make it, don't ever come back. I don't think you understand. You don't have another option. We've done enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I truly thought to myself, I wonder how long it'll take me to walk back to Portland from Astoria, Oregon. And I looked up into the sky.
Because you were already thinking you weren't going to make it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. And I looked up into the sky, and it was raining, because it rains all the time on the Oregon coast. And I said, you know what, I'll just give this a shot. Why not? I don't want to have to walk back, and I don't think hitchhiking is a good idea. And I went in there, and they tried to get me to take all the detox medications and everything, but I'd done it so many times, trying to taper myself and doing all that stuff, and I just kept telling them no. And I sat in the bed there, cold turkey detox, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
How long had you been using opiates?
4 years.
For 4 years straight.
Mm-hmm. So
That's a long detox.
It was terrible. It was 7. Yeah. It was 7 days of the real hard stuff, and
right.
then an additional about 60 days of just feeling the shivers here and there. And
Sure.
just the pains were coming back, But that first 7 days, I'll never forget that for
I
the
bet.
rest of my life, And it was really through God's grace that I made it through that,
Yeah.
without having to take anything.
So no Suboxone,
Nope.
no Vivitrol,
Nope.
none of that stuff.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I was too afraid, I had done the Suboxone tapers off the street that I'd bought. I'd done the buprenorphine tapers, and
Right.
I always felt as though I just got sick again afterwards. And I'd tried, they talk about in the big book switching from scotch to brandy. Well, I switched from heroin to meth, and that didn't work.
Right.
I switched from heroin to crack, and that didn't work. I mean, I've done pretty much every drug in the book that I know of, and nothing would stop that feeling of withdrawal. So when they told me to take a withdrawal drug, I said, well, I'm going to withdraw again off of the withdrawal drug.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to do that, and it just, I stuck with it, and once I made it out of there, I said, man, I'm never going to do that again. Part of my head was like,
Yeah.
well, maybe later, but I just kept telling myself, I'll give this 1 year. I'll give it AA an earnest shot, and I'll give it 1 year. And if nothing changes, then I'll go back and do what I want to do. And that was kind of the start of it all for me.
So let's review something here, because you made an, and I want to ask these guys something too. So you made an interesting statement. You said at one point after several attempts, you said, "But this time I mean it." And then you ran into a guy, and you were off to the races again, right? But I'm going to take a stab at it here. When you said this time I mean it, you did mean it at that moment.
At that moment.
Right? You really did. Marv, when you did you have bouts in your drinking career where you said, this time I really want to stay sober, I'm going to stay sober, and then turned right around and didn't?
No.
Tell me about that. I'm just curious about.
Well, and I think the reason is I didn't have any big catastrophes happen.
Okay.
Typical alcoholic, I kept working. I had a family to take care of, and I just drank enough to maintain. I didn't go over the line to where I was homeless or
Gotcha.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and even then, when I did come into AA, I came through the back door because I was supposedly supporting an alcoholic wife.
Right.
And so for a long time,
You were there for her.
was just
That was the
there
back door. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I really can't answer that question.
Why did you stay though? I mean, something
Well,
hooked you, right?
Right. First meeting, within the first half hour.
Really?
Yes. What it was the reality of the spiritual part of the program.
That hit you.
That hit me hard.
Tony, what about you? Did you ever have times where you really did mean it, and then you found yourself totally powerless and you were back out doing the deal again?
There are multiple times I said I meant it.
Yeah. But you really did, right?
Well, I won't lie. After I got out of jail, I did it a couple more times, and then I'm like, I'm done. I can't. I'm tired of being tired. And so I was even in Serenity Lane, and
Yeah.
my counselor's like, you can't keep doing this. You're going to get your ankle brace back. You're going to go back to jail. You're going to... Oh, still hits home.
Sure.
But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, after that, it was like, yeah, I want it.
What about you guys? Marv and Dave, did you ever have times where, I mean, Marv, I called Dave Marv and I called you Dave. Wow. Dave, Denver, did you guys go through a thing where
you want to field that question?
when you really meant it, but it didn't take? Your good intentions weren't power enough?
You want me to take this, Denver?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I can honestly say I didn't have that issue because I never got to the point where I thought that I wasn't in control until one day I was on my way home from work and I thought to myself, I had that moment of clarity, and I said, I realized after I took that, I made my little drink routine on the way home, about 10 minutes down the road. I realized that I couldn't drink and I couldn't not drink because all of a sudden my vision cleared up. The shaking, the internal shaking went away, and I always attributed it to that high blood pressure. So I never even connected the dots until that particular moment. That was probably the only time. And then that was at that point where I said, hey, if there's a God and you want to work in my life, help me get back into treatment so I can make a go of this. And I did, what our guest was saying about that 1 year thing. I said, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability for 1 year.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then I can always go back to doing what I was doing.
Sure. Well, you never.
Not unlike you, Billy. I tried it every which way to see if I could make it work on my own. Mm-hmm. And none of it works. It always ends up the same for me. So until I was ready to give it up and surrender it, I tried it every which way, and it didn't work.
So my point is obsession does not conform to reason, right? If you're truly alcoholic, if you're truly an addict, and you truly are powerless, like my experience has been, then the power of logic isn't sufficient. But something happened, right? Yeah. What was the light bulb thing for you? I mean,
I really can't say. I mean, I lost one of my closest friends when I was out there using. He overdosed and died, and I'd always, and it's such a terrible statement, but it's just the way that I thought. I always thought that people that overdosed and died were weak. And me and him weren't weak,
Right.
And when he died, it was like, I'm not Superman.
So that burst your bubble, didn't it?
Yeah, but it still wasn't right away.
Right.
It was almost 4 months later, and I went on a spree, and I had tried to stop again, and I went back out, and I went into one of the park blocks in downtown Portland, and I shot up a gram, and it was a lot for the time because I was really just maintaining, at that point. And I remember I overdosed because you can kind of feel it coming on, and I just told myself, oh, crap, and I remember hitting the ground, and then I woke up the next day, and I did it alone, and a lot of the people that I know, I've only met a couple other people that have overdosed alone and made it, and they didn't die, and when I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and I remember just my lips were all blue, and my eyes were all sunk, and I just felt like hell, and I just said, maybe there's a reason why I'm here, but I still wasn't ready. I kept playing this all in my head, like, come on. But I think one of the biggest things at the time was just my dad talking like that. I mean, him and I never really got along when I was younger because of the stuff that I was doing, obviously. But, he was a hardworking man, and he really tried his best to support us. And we weren't wealthy,
Yeah.
And he worked all the time. And when he said that, I mean, I have a son now, and my second son is due April 1st. I would do anything for my son. Anything. I mean, if I had to put every single amount of money I had to on my credit cards and sign a payment plan for the rest of my life, I would do anything for him. And when he said that, it was like, man, this has gone too far. But it's still, something in my head was still obsessing. And I can just really say that it's a miracle. It's a miracle that I even went to their house that day.
Right.
I mean, I could have just went to that Fred Meyer's, turned back around, got back into my old life, no problem.
Yeah.
God's grace.
It is.
God's grace.
I always talk about it. For me, I'm lucky that I didn't get justice for my actions. I got mercy.
Wow.
And
that's powerful.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, and to bad as well. I mean, obviously, I was in and out of jail, and I was facing a 2.5-year prison sentence. And when I got out, I went in front of the judge. I think this was my clarity moment for that 1 year timeline. I went in front of the judge. I had just gotten out of treatment the day before, and I went up to the podium or whatever to talk to the judge, and I had no lawyer. And he had convicted me before a couple times. And he said, Mr. Anderson, are you sure you don't want a lawyer? I said, yeah, I'm sure. He said, I'm going to ask you again. Are you sure? And I said, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to tell you what happened, man. And so I laid it out on the table, and I said, here's a letter from the clinical director, a letter from the executive director, a letter from my counselor, and this is what I've been doing, and I was insane, and I'm sorry that I ran, and I'm sorry that I didn't take care of my stuff, but I didn't know what else to do. And I checked myself into treatment, and this is the proof of it. Here's my completion certificate. And everybody else that day had been getting the bracelets, going off every day.
I know those.
Yeah.
I know those.
Yeah, me too, right?
all day. So I hugged my dad and my girlfriend at the time, and I just said, I'll see you guys in a couple years,
Yeah.
And for some reason, my dad said that the prosecutor was looking me up and down the whole time. And the judge just kind of sat back and took the papers and was like, well, what do you think, to the prosecutor? And the prosecutor said, I think we should give him a second shot.
Wow.
And I walked out of that courtroom and I was like, I don't have another chance.
Yeah.
To get away. And I do have a criminal record, and it's held me back from a lot. But
sure.
I didn't have to go to prison, thank God. And it was all because I got sober, and I relied upon God to keep me on the right track. That's how I made it. It's been that way ever since I got clean. And I can say that within that year that I gave it, the promises that they talk about will be amazed before we were halfway through. I wasn't even halfway through that year. And I was like, man, my life is completely different,
Mm-hmm.
So, and it wasn't great. I was living in a garage on a couch.
Right.
But it was good,
What was it? How was it for you? I mean, we talk about for a person to actually experience a state of recovery, you're going to need to have the desperation of a drowning man.
Yeah.
It sounds like you definitely had that. But there's work to be done, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the big book says now there's work and more work, and things like Next We Launched. I mean, that's from step 3 to step 4. That's 0 to 200 in a matter of seconds. It's an Air Force term. Boom. You don't wait, for a month to start your next step, that kind of thing. So you're in treatment. Did you work a 12-step program in treatment, or did they just kind of help you start it, or how'd that work?
Yeah, so they helped us do the Hazelden books,
right?
When I was there, and they did take us to outside meetings, and I got a couple sponsors, and I was the guy that sat in the back, and I had 2 or 3 different sponsors at first because I was trying to find somebody that I was open to talking about all the stuff that I'd done.
Yeah,
I was more focused. Everybody talks about the 4th step and the 3rd step. I was focused on the 5th. I was okay with God, for the most part. I had a general conception. But the 5th step was the one that scared me the most. Being able to talk about everything that I'd done to God and to another human being. I mean, and
right.
So I went through a couple guys, and I ended up finding a captain of a charter boat out in Astoria. And,
oh, really?
And he only had about 8 months more than I.
Right.
But something about him was like, this he's perfect, and that was about 8 months into my sobriety that I had found him. And we ran through him quick.
Wow.
But when I did that 5th step, they talk about, you'll do your 5th step with a sponsor, and he'll tell you that he has more things in common than you possibly would have imagined, and he'll tell you it's okay. And that guy told me, he said, well, I don't know what to do with you.
I
love it.
Don't they all?
It scared the hell out of me. And I remember I went home. He said, "Don't worry though, man. We're gonna figure this out. I got your back. It's okay." And I went home and I was like, "Man, I don't fit into AA. I don't fit into NA. I don't fit into being a drug addict.
Where do I fit?
Where do I fit?" And he called me a couple days later and said, "I got it. I got the plan. This is what we're gonna do." And said, "Oh, here we go." And he said, "You're going to do your 5th step with my pastor." And I said, "Dude, no, come on. I just did it with you. That was enough, But now you want me to do it with a man of God? I mean, come on." But something stuck out to me, which is on that coin, honesty, open-minded, willingness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, maybe, because I've been honest with him, and I was open-minded enough to do it, but now I have to be willing to take it to the next step. And I did it with that pastor, and he changed my life. He didn't look at me like I was crazy.
Right.
And,
so your fear, whatever it was,
was
just that, a threat. It didn't really make good on it.
Exactly. It was just a non-existent, a non-tangible fear.
Right.
It's just something that I was holding on to.
Yeah.
And as soon as I let it go and I did it with him, it was life-changing. It really was.
How was your men's process? Did they receive you well, or did you run into many brick walls with that?
Most of them. I had a couple of guys that were like, I really want to beat you up right now, but I love you, that sort of thing. And, there's been some really tough amends stuff with the family as well, because I put them through a lot of pain, and I really don't like to bring up stuff from the past with my folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but one of the coolest things ever is that my father and I, you know, we, like I said, I mean, we really didn't have a good relationship, but we've always been together with building cars, classic muscle cars, and so we built up the car that I've had since I was a 13-year-old.
Is that the one on your Facebook page?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. That's sweet.
It's a 69 Dodge Coronet. It's
Yeah.
Mopar, no car. But anyway.
But he knows nothing about it.
Yeah, no. But so we did a motor swap in it, and we were all excited, and we were going to do this thing and go and drive out to Hot August Nights. And it didn't end up working out that way, but it was great because we took my other car, and we had AC the whole time. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, that was one of the coolest trips that I've ever had, just driving 9 hours. I've never spent time one-on-one with my dad. I never thought that would happen. And just because of the recovery process and being able to do things the right way, you know, I've earned the most of his respect back, and we got to have some time one-on-one. I never would have imagined, you know,
Sure.
not in my wildest dreams. And it was just really cool to have that immense times with him as well. You know, they talk about sometimes you'll find him and sometimes it's best to wait, and the opportunity will present itself in God's time.
Right.
And that's what I've stuck with. You know, I did a lot of tough ones, though.
Right. 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 So let me just ask your opinion. In today's recovery fellowships, we have a variety of characters in the mix, right? I mean, we have people from all sorts of walks of life, belief systems, experiences, and everything. But one of the things that is, besides the illness that we have in common, is the solution.
Yeah.
And depending on how we approach that and what our background's been, it may look a little different. But how important is God in your life as your solution to this this whole recovery deal in maintaining a healthy recovery that you're in now?
Well, I'm going to use an example in this because it speaks true to me. You know, I always tell my guys that I sponsor is trust, first of all, God, and then second of all, your gut. You know, because my wife and I, we got pregnant right away as soon as we started dating. And it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through. You know, I didn't know her. We'd known each other from before a little bit, but she knew me when I was using, and that was real bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, we had all these things happen right away, and it was terrifying. And everybody in my family was like, the kid's not yours. If you sign that birth certificate, you're going to screw yourself over for life. You know, her mom was like, you guys aren't ready. You know, if you do this, it's going to ruin both of your lives. And the doctors that I was talking to were saying, you know, yeah, it's definitely not yours. But something in my gut, because I was praying so much for guidance, you know, during this, something in my gut was like, man, that's your kid. There's nothing that's going to be wrong. You can do this. All you need to do is support her. And I did that. And against all advice, I mean, a couple of my brothers, they had 007 plans, you know.
Yeah.
When the baby's born, get a swab, do the mouth thing. We're going to take it away from your wife.
Marv's going, I
do understand.
Yeah. And so, you know, I if I would have listened to them, there's a big chance today that I wouldn't be a father to my son.
Sure.
You know, or it would have been way worse to try to make through an amends process on that.
Yeah.
But I trusted God that everything was going to be okay. And it is. And my son's 3 now, and we've been successful. We've never really fought, you know.
Right.
It's amazing how that works.
Right.
But it's all in God's time, you know. And you have to trust in God no matter what. And then your gut, and then get some advice from some people, man. That's what your sponsor's there for.
Right.
You know, it's not going to hurt you to ask, but it's not also going to hurt you to pray.
Yeah. Amen.
So, you know.
Good stuff. So we're almost out of time. You got a conference call here in about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So we need to wrap this up. But tell us about what does a director of clinical outreach do? And tell us about Sunspire and Astoria Point.
Yeah. So what I do is I go and I network with other treatment centers, other treatment professionals, and I find the areas where Astoria Point doesn't work, and I work with them. So basically, in a nutshell, I find places for people to go no matter what their situation is. And at Astoria Point, I mean, we offer a couple different things. We have detox on site, which is what I went through there.
Right.
Residential, and then the partial hospitalization IOP with sober living. And it's all out in Astoria, Oregon, If you're not familiar with that is, that's where the Goonies was filmed.
Yes.
Oh, it is, huh?
But also, you know, it's a program where it's not some fancy Malibu program. It's not some gorgeous mansion on a hill cliff. You know, it's if you want to go there.
The view is nice, though.
The view is really nice, but still, you know, it's where you go if you really want to get down and you're tired of being sick and tired. It's a good place to get a foundation of recovery. And I work with the families, and I do interventions here and there for some younger folks that, you know, need some help and need some guidance to show as an example, hey, if I did this and I got sober and I was 20, you can too.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good job. You know, I really do like helping people. And again, I want to stress that I don't only work with the private places, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I go and I try to research places that I can get people into faster if they have state insurance. If they don't have insurance at all, I have resources. I want to be a beacon of light in the darkness that is addiction, where somebody can call me and I can hand them off or help them get into a place to start. You know, that's kind of my goal. And if I can just help one or two people for my entire career, then so be it. You know,
the website, by the way, is sunspirehealth.com. And when you go there, you can find the different centers that is part of the Sunspire network.
Right.
And Astoria Point's on there. Point spelled with an E at the end.
Yes.
And just to speak to that, I called you the other day, and we'll just call him John Doe or whatever. John Doe. I said, John Doe's in trouble, and he doesn't have any resources. He's got an Oregon health plan. Whoop-de-doo there, right? I mean, because most places don't take that. And you weren't able to plug him into Astoria Point, but you were willing to send him in a direction. And from what I understand, he has an appointment with that guy on Tuesday.
Great.
So you were able to help me help a guy that I've known for a long time. And really, that's what it's all about, right? It's exactly. Okay. If we can't get you with us, let's find a place where we can get you, so you can get the help you need.
Exactly.
And that's where your heart really is,
right? Because
don't you know, tons of people are on the 90-day waiting list, and they're trying to work with out of what do you call the different. The different insurance policies, we take this, we take part out of network, you know, and 30 days is typical. We're not going to pay past that. And I mean, it's so frustrating.
Oh yeah,
it's so frustrating.
I was one of those guys that was on the 5-month waiting list, you know, and you have to come to these meetings every week, and if you don't, then you lose your place in the residential program. I mean, try to tell that to a heroin addict, you know, that has to get loaded every day. It doesn't work,
right?
You know, for me. So that's kind of where I like to come in and be that guy to say, hey, great, you're on the waiting list. If you can keep doing those meetings, great. But if you need another route to go, here's another one, or here's another one.
You bet.
And just keep in contact with me and let me know how to help you. You know, that's.
Billy, thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Any last thoughts?
Just love recovery, man. Love recovery and love God.
Yeah, right on. Right on, man. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much. Again, the website is sunspirehealth.com. You can find the links at Take 12 Recovery Radio as well. And we want to make sure that we support their efforts. And so if you will go there, just send them an email and just say hi to them. Send me an email if you want to communicate with Billy. And tell them that you enjoyed the show. And some of you are out there going, maybe Astoria Point is someplace I can check out, or Sunspire Health. At the very least, if I can't get in there, maybe Billy can help me get plugged in somewhere. Because sometimes, as good as it is, sometimes a 12-step support setting doesn't have the expertise for dealing with co-occurring mental health issues, trauma, things like that. It's okay. In fact, the big book talks about sometimes we need outside help.
Exactly.
You know, so it's a good thing. All right, so we always. Did you want to say something, Dave?
I was going to say the important thing is to just ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't. It's time. There's somebody listening right now. Look, it's time. It's time. You know, you just got to do it. Step out and do it. So we always like to close with a song. Our closing song is by Daryl Scott, and it's called "It's a Great Day to Be Alive," and it is a great day to be alive.
That it is.
All right. Thanks.
got rice cooking in the microwave. I got a 3-day beard. I don't plan to shave, and it's a goofy thing, but I just gotta say, hey man, I'm doing alright. Yeah, I think I'll make me some homemade soup. I'm feeling pretty good, and that's a gospel truth. It's neither drink nor drug induced. No, I'm just doing alright. And it's a great day to be alive. I know the sun's still shining when I close my eyes. It's some hard times in the neighborhood, but why can't every day be just this good? It's been 15 years since I left home. It said good luck to every seed I'd sown. It gave me my best and I left it alone. I hope they're doing alright. Now, Redbird, what do you see? He says, I see a lone wolf and he's looking straight at me. Head in the clouds, but harmless as a tree. Good God, I guess he's doing alright. It's a great day to be alive. I know the sun's still shining when I close my eyes. It's some hard times in the neighborhood, but why can't every day be just this good? Sometimes it's lonely, sometimes it's only me and the shadows that fill this room. Sometimes I'm falling, desperately calling and howling at the moon. It's a colorful life that we go through. It's neither black or white, not just shades of blue. Now, maybe I'll grow me a Fu Manchu. Oh, well, it's a great day to be alive. I know the sun's still shining when I close my eyes. It's some hard times in the neighborhood, but why can't every day be just as good? It's a great day to be alive. I know the sun's still shining when I close my eyes. It's some hard times in the neighborhood, but why can't every day be just this good?
Yes, indeed, it is a great day to be alive. What a great song by Daryl Scott. Hey, a special thank you to our guest today, Mr. Billy Anderson, Director of Clinical Outreach for Sunspire Health and working out of Astoria Point Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center in Astoria, Oregon. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
'Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Yeah, kitty, 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 kitty.